Hi,
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Okay. Uh, Tell us something about how you got into jazz.
Um, I'm a music student for quite a long time now, and when I started picking up the saxophone, my teacher introduced me to jazz, and we were studying jazz a bit for our music exams. That's how I mainly got into jazz, anyway.
And why did you decide to play the saxophone?
Why the saxophone?
Yeah.
Oh, I was experimenting with like a few instruments, and I just gravitated towards the saxophone more than the rest of them.
Cool. And what's your question for Sonny?
My question for Sonny is, how has your approach to learning jazz music changed over the years? How, like, as the music has changed, and maybe like your life experiences, how has it like changed the way you practice and how you play, etc.?
Wow. Well, I've always been a person. Now, what's your name again? I missed.
Savannah.
Savannah. Yeah.
Okay. So, Savannah, I've always been a person that loves to practice. When I first got my horn, I was 7 years old or something like that. And I went in the room and I started practicing. I was blowing all day long. And my mother had to stop me and say, "Sonny, come on, it's time to eat." So I always like to practice. I've always just loved blowing the horn. That's a beautiful thing because it stayed with me all my life. I still love practicing. And the styles of music, there will always be changes because this is a changing world, and so there'll always be musical changes that occur. But your love for the saxophone, my love for the saxophone, will always be there, and I will always practice. I hope you always practice. And you make some of the changes yourself. You're saying it's changing in styles. Well, you make some of the changes. Why not? But practicing always and really with love in your heart. This is what's going to make the difference in your life and the people that get a chance to hear you. And it's a beautiful life playing the saxophone. I mean, it's great. It's spiritual. It's like the earth. It's like water. It's everything. It's like nature. And so I congratulate you for choosing the saxophone. And I have a feeling that I'll be hearing from you in future times.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You mentioned me like making change. How do you feel about women in jazz? Because obviously, historically speaking, the majority of horn players were men, and maybe the women were like singers or maybe pianists. How do you feel about women now in jazz and what they have to offer?
Well, it depends on the woman. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you can play jazz. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can play jazz. If there is a talented jazz player, she can be a woman or she can be a man. It's society that has to accept women in that role. But as far as I'm concerned, and as far as if you put on a record, you don't know who it is, sounds great, and then they say, "Oh, well, that's a woman," so it doesn't matter. And I think society is beginning to change, and people are beginning to accept women playing jazz now. And I think a lot of women want to play jazz now. That's what I've been finding out. A lot of women are very anxious to play jazz, and they felt that they've sort of been denied playing jazz. So this is great. This is great. I welcome them. And there used to be a woman, Vi Burnside, I remember when I was coming up. She used to be with the Sweethearts of Rhythm, and she was very good, but we didn't hear too much of her. So I'm all for women in jazz because it's about the music. It's not about the player. It's about the music.
Sure.
Great, Savannah. Thanks so much for joining us.